Actually, wasn't that bad. Didn't take very long. What I ended up doing was on that last shot where you saw it lined up with the shaft on there, I reached in there and held it with my fingernail and then used my wrench and pushed it on just like that, and it slid right on. What you do want to make sure is that it is all the way on. And to do that, it should be clipped in, and you should be able to spin it without it popping off. That means that it's set down inside the groove. So hopefully you can see that. Whenever you put two parts together, you're always going to want to test them and make sure that they operate smoothly without any binding. So we got that part done. That was probably the hardest part of this whole build. Alright, so now let's look at the directions here. We are going to take this little pin and we're going to put the two smaller beveled gears onto this pin with the beveled side in or the flat side out, like so. Let's go ahead and follow up with the other one on the second side, so it looks like this. I'm going to push those in. Let's go ahead and push them in most of the way like so, and we're going to drop the pin down into these little grooves on the cup like that. Once that's done, let's spread these back out and push on them until they drop down and they connect with the gear that's inside. And anytime we put something together, we're going to test fit it and make sure that it's not binding up. I'm going to hold the little pin with my finger in there and make sure that everything turns properly. I'm going to set this piece aside, and we're basically going to repeat what we did with the drive cup with the larger gear. So let's go ahead and grab one of our larger bearings and slide it on. Go ahead and take one of the little gaskets and slide it onto the shaft of the cup here. Make sure it's seated. And then we're going to slide that through the bearing side or the flat side of the gear. Make sure it sets in. We're going to take the last of the 4 little red O-rings, drop it over the shaft. Make sure that it's down inside. Then we're going to take the remaining bevel gear, drop it down there, spin it until it seats itself, and then we're going to install the C-clip. This one's a little easier because there's some room to work here. Just double checking the directions to make sure we have everything in the right position. Going to drop that little C-clip on there. And push it on. Once it's on, let's spin it, make sure that it's completely on. Once that's done, we're going to double check and make sure that nothing is binding. Everything should turn smoothly. Alright. There are optional pieces that you can get. There is a heavy duty bevel gear set that can be had from your favorite retail store. Alright. Now, let's take the gasket, and you see how there's the 2 little cutouts here, and then the screw holes. That's going to line up with the cutouts on the case. And then we're going to line up the screw holes and drop this down. Right now we're just test fitting. Make sure everything goes together okay. And operates properly. Alright. Now that that's done, we're going to go ahead and fill the diff and seal it up. I'm going to take a little bit of the silicone fluid here and I'm going to put it on the gasket, both sides. Doesn't take a lot, just helps everything stick together. You can drop that down on here, and again we want the screw holes and everything to line up. You know what, we'll wait on that. What we need to do is fill up the diff with fluid. Again, I'm going to recommend that you take that little nipple off. If you start squeezing it when that nipple's on there, it's going to shoot out like a rocket and you're going to have a big lava flow of diff fluid all over everything. If you take a look at the directions here, it's going to show you how full to make it. And basically you want to go about 90% to the top. And it is thick and it takes a little while to flow in there. So we're just going to drop a little in at a time. You don't want to overfill it. Diff fluid can get messy. We're just going to drop in a little bit at a time. Also, because it is so thick, what you may want to do is to turn the gears. You can hold that down in with your finger, but just turn them slowly to make sure that that fluid is getting down into the little nooks and crannies inside there. Put a little bit more in. And we'll call it a day. Okay, so now I'm going to actually put this on this side. Yeah, we'll put it down here. I'm going to go ahead and put it on there, make sure that the holes line up. And then we're going to grab one of the screws. Drop it in. We're going to line the holes up with the gasket and the diff cup and drop that down. Then we'll tighten it up. These are long screws. I'm keeping this upright at this point so the diff fluid doesn't leak out. We're just going to put this first screw in just till it touches. Don't quite tighten it down. And then I like to take my little Allen wrench and go around and make sure all the holes line up. Looks like I might have missed with the gasket there. I'm going to loosen that up a little bit. Not quite sure what happened there. My holes aren't lining up, even though I tried. So what we're going to do this time is use 2 screws to keep them lined up. I'm not going to take that one all the way out. I'm going to kind of peek under here and see what's going on. Put a second screw in. There we go, get that one lined up. Tighten her down. bored yet? It's fun building them. We are doing this, like I said, page by page. If I have a problem with something, it means somebody else will, and it's better that we do it on screen. It's a little embarrassing sometimes with the problems that I create for myself, but you know what? It's all a learning experience. So we're going to go ahead and put the other 2 screws in, and we'll be right back. Now that all 4 screws are in, we are going to tighten them down just a little bit at a time in a star pattern. You don't want to just crank one all the way down. You want to tighten them up little by little, just in a little cross pattern so nothing gets warped. And you really don't want to over tighten them, but they do need to be fairly snug. Once you've done that, we're going to go ahead and test everything, make sure there is nothing binding up. And right now you should feel resistance on these 2 as you move them counter to each other. And there should not really feel gritty or grindy or bumpy in there. You might feel a little bit of the gears, but not a lot. If you're getting any bumping or grinding or binding, you're going to have to take it apart and revisit what you did. So that's what this part looks like now that it's done. We'll move on to step number 2.